So this is talking about sequence, back to those 5 key parts at the beginning of the presentation. Sequence is where the customer value journey comes in. So we looked at this guy named Desmond Morris, and he's a zoologist, right? He's a zoologist that was studying how 2 people create an intimate relationship. How does this phenomenon happen, right? And what he figured out was that there's a number of steps that have to happen, of course, from first seeing somebody to the rated R version, or going home, right? What was interesting, what he found, was that it was not important the speed at which somebody went from 1 to 12. Obviously, we know that, it happens from time to time. But what was important was the sequence at which these steps happened, right? If I saw someone for the first time eye to body, and I went straight to hand to body, you're probably getting arrested, certainly slapped. Something's happening, but it's not working. It's not going to work for you, right? So it was not important the speed at which the sequences of intimacy happened. It was important, or it was important the sequence. It was not important as to the speed at which, okay? So what we thought was interesting was, how is this any different than a marketing experience between a seller and a buyer? It's not, right? It's the exact same thing. We are creating an intimate relationship with our buyer because they are parting with one of their most important things, which is money. So we can do that in one sitting. Somebody can see a Facebook ad, go to the site, convert in 10 minutes. But the sequence is important. Okay? The role of marketing is to move prospects and customers seamlessly and subtly through each phase of the value journey. As a marketer, that is our job. At the very beginning, right after, or right when we catch them in their before state, we have to, how do qualified prospects find out about us? Okay, so as an example, perhaps a prospect sees an ad or hears about you from a referral. Johnny's parents had a great time at camp. They tell my parents, I'm going because Johnny's parents were a referral. Okay, so that's, or at least that's how I'm aware of the camp in the first place. Or I see an ad. And with your guys' team, I want you to write out all of the marketing things you do at each stage of the value journey. How do you make people aware of you in the first moment? Okay? But making someone aware is not enough, right? Because if you just go from awareness to the core value, which we'll get to, you're basically trying to go from first seeing someone to going home with them. We need to engage them, right? And especially in your guys, as we were talking about, right? The purchase decision comes on the heels of information, engagement, an open house, testimonials, PDF downloads, et cetera, right? So how do you, if this is a glance, a moment in time where they see an ad, how do we turn a glance into a stare? So a prospect reads a blog, engages on social media, re-engages on social media, shares stuff, goes back to a new blog article. This is kind of where you run them through the cycle, because and not until they're ready will they take the next step, which is subscribe, which is typically giving up some contact information for gated content, right? So a prospect opts in and gets some sort of gated content, whether it's a how-to guide or something that adds value. The difference between subscribe and these 2 stages is that at the subscribe stage, they're starting to play a role in the relationship a little bit, right? They're saying, okay, I'll meet you halfway. I'll give you my contact information to give you something. Our goal is to hook them, is to get them to make that first commitment. Now, typically in marketing, a commitment is expressed by either a little bit of time or a little bit of money. It's the first purchase, right? It's the first time they come to camp, or it's the first time they, in your case, come to an open house. What would be an example of something where you're asking parents that have not signed their kids up yet to part with a bit of time? Did you guys do like an open house tour of the school, that kind of thing? Like hour, 2-hour thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, usually
No, it's
have individual,
Yeah, we have individual tours and chats.
and kid can take 2 days to try.
Yeah.
Perfect. So they're making a commitment there, right? If
Yeah.
I'm giving you 2 kids
Oh,
and
yeah.
2 days of my kid's time, again, the hook, the decision, the purchase, the initial purchase can either be time or money. time or money. In your case, it's coming to the first camp probably. Maybe it's a shortened version of robots class or whatever the curriculum is. Digital marketing or marketing can get them here. If you get them to the open house, if you get them to the camp, your job is to excite them. Again, going back to that first thing I talked about, if your product sucks, it doesn't really matter what you do, right? But if they had a moment, an aha moment, where it went from a nice to have to a I have to have this. I have to sign Johnny up for the full camp. Timmy has to go to this school, right? So that when they have that aha moment, then you sell them on your core offer, right? Only then, because they've said, I want to be a part of this relationship. I'm going to give you a small commitment of time or money. You knocked it out of the park. Where do I register for 2020 fall, right? Now, there wouldn't be really upsells in your type of business, but for the camp folks, upsell number one, so they have a great experience core offer. Upsell number one is the winter version of that camp, and upsell number two is the fall version of the camp they just went to, but maybe it's the two brothers and sisters coming along with them. Upsell for number three, on and on and on and on. Gets to the point where they've had such a great job, a great experience through your upselling that now they're an advocate. Now they're an active promoter, which is, it's the holy grail of marketing, isn't it, right? The best, everyone says, what kind of marketing do you? Well, it's mostly word of mouth, but it's AKA I don't know, right? That's what they say. But we're never going to create a scenario where you're adding to your marketing army if all we're trying to do is, here's my ad, come register. It just doesn't work, right? It's like going to the bar and asking someone to go home with you first time. And worse than that, it's not considering their before and after, which is the absolute necessary component to creating print. And again, we're not talking about making one sale. Anybody can get one parent to sign up for a camp. Anybody can get one family to buy into your 2-day thing and register. Only the best, only the ones that deserve to win get the predictability, the consistency through looking at the world through this. When you have this figured out, you'll have, so when you go back with your teams, again, list all of the things you do. I do newsletters, Facebook ads, billboard, radio, all of the things you do in the aware stage. All of the things you do in the engage stage. And you can start to see where certain areas are lacking, where certain areas, but you certainly don't know, a Facebook ad is not going to hook them, right? It's going to be Facebook ad where you retarget them with more content to the point where they say, okay, enough's enough, I want to be a part of this relationship. When do I sign up for the open house? And then from there, make sure you do a good job, get all their sons and daughters, their brothers and sisters, create your army. Okay? We'll go into more detail. If you get them to subscribe and they just hate your offer, like they're like, I don't want to come to a 1-day version of this camp, it's not, I'm going to pass. You need to re-engage them, right? Because they're not the ideal customer for you. You need to re-engage them and try again. Just like at the bar, right? You have to make another approach, right? If they don't like your core offer, you got to excite them again. And that happens all the time, right? Mom and dad are mad because the camp wasn't what you said it was going to be, blah, blah, blah. So you got to bring them in and say, you got to re-excite them.